A drainage basin is the area drained by a river, and the outlet is where the river either joins the sea or joins another river. In the case of the Camac, that's the Liffey. The boundary of the drainage basin is the higher land around the edge of it, and this separates the drainage basin from adjacent drainage basins. So any rain falling on this side of the boundary will end up in the river of interest, and any rain falling on this side of the boundary will end up in a different drainage basin. There are a number of different pathways that water can take when you have rain falling over the drainage area. Some of that water is intercepted by vegetation, and anyone who's sheltered under a tree during a storm will know how effective that can be. That water some of it is subsequently evaporated, some of it drips to the soil surface, and water reaching the soil surface may enter the soil by a process called infiltration, and that's where water enters the soil and travels downwards through it. Water that doesn't infiltrate the soil travels over the surface as overland flow, and water that does infiltrate the soil may either travel parallel to the surface through the soil layer as through flow, or it might take a much deeper route, travelling through the underlying aquifer if there is one, as groundwater flow. And these different flow pathways travel at very different rates. So overland flow would be between sort of 30 and 500 metres in an hour. Through flow is between about 30 centimetres, 5 and 30 centimetres in an hour. And groundwater flow rates can be as low as a few millimetres a day. So very different rates of flow. Now, what happens during prolonged rainfall is that the shallow water table close to the river channel may actually rise to the surface, and we can see this here. And this is now saturated, so any rain falling on it can't possibly infiltrate. The soil can't take any more water, so it travels over the surface as overland flow. And this means that any water falling over this area will travel rapidly to the river channel. We'll look at this in a little more detail in the next diagram. So these are the different flow pathways. We have overland flow, through flow and groundwater flow. This is the river channel, and this is the saturated area which forms after prolonged rainfall. So any rain falling on that area is going to get into the river channel very quickly. Another source of overland flow is where you have the convergence of flow. So where you have a hollow, flow converges on that hollow, and that might become saturated and feed into a river channel. And so this is what happens at the source of the Camac. We have a little bit of a hollow, water accumulates in that hollow and feeds the river channel.